Some of you are watching this video to bring some structure and strategy into your launch process. And some of you have had this business idea for a long time, but for one reason or another, you haven't quite launched it yet, or you haven't fully advertised yourself yet. And maybe it's been years, and there are reasons for that. And I'm sure you know people around you who don't seem to be stuck. They're able to just take off and run with it. And now they're successful. And you probably wondered, why were they able to achieve so much faster than you? And it's because either they weren't carrying as much emotional baggage as you, and they were better equipped to set it aside because it wasn't so heavy. Or they were experiencing so much pressure, it was so heavy that they forced themselves to set it down and they forced themselves into action. And there's a very good lesson there. Now, this happened to me. I had a coworker when I was in my 20s who went to the same art school as me. We were working in the same restaurant. We were both young, and had late nights and distractions and booze. But when she graduated, she took off. She worked really hard and she built a super successful design firm, highly publicized, and now she's huge. And I was really happy for her. But I also remember comparing myself and thinking, what the fuck happened to me? Why couldn't I do what she did? And what is wrong with me? And I know that a lot of you have experienced that feeling. But after a lot of unpacking and self-study, I realized that I had a lot of subconscious self-limiting beliefs that completely sabotaged my ability to do what she did. But recognizing how damaging my self-criticism was to my success was the first huge step in dismantling it. So that was the first big realization. But the greater lesson was recognizing that it's not like she had it easier than me. And if you're thinking that about people you admire, that is self-pity and that helps no one. The difference between she and I was that she just set the bar a lot higher than I did. She let herself feel that enormous pressure to change, to succeed, but she used it to force herself into action rather than sink herself into despair. Brilliant. So don't beat yourself up. Just keep taking action. It goes like this: try, fail, learn, improve. Try, fail, learn, improve. That's how that works, especially in the beginning. So if you're here, congratulations for recognizing that you're actually expediting your success by giving yourself a little bit of support. And, maybe there's some self-limiting beliefs or patterns that have been getting in your way, but we're going to change that so you can take off. And I have good news for you. The limitations that you've been challenged with are coming from beliefs that are wired into your subconscious from your upbringing. And while they were powerful enough to put a ceiling on what's possible for you up to this point, if you address those beliefs and question them and reframe them, then your new belief system, your new mantras that you've wired into your subconscious will conversely be just as powerful to push you consistently towards your goals. So how does this work? It's basic neuroscience. When you have self-doubt rattling around in your subconscious, and those self-limiting thoughts are just playing on repeat, they're being rehearsed over and over again in your brain, over time, those thoughts form a belief system. And that's something that your brain learns to reference and accept as truth. And those beliefs have a heavy influence on your life decisions and your actions or inactions and how your life turns out. Your beliefs determine your reality. And I'm sure you've heard that before, but most of us aren't really aware of them because those thoughts came from a very long time ago when you were really young, and someone taught you that, maybe you're not going to go that far in life. Maybe you had a parent who was hard on you, or maybe your peers made fun of you, or you grew up poor in an affluent environment, or maybe you were just unseen. It doesn't have to be a big, gnarly trauma for you to feel invisible and unimportant. And it's still very damaging to your self-worth to feel like that. But you probably just dismiss those feelings and figure that now you're an adult, you thought you grew out of it. But if you never address that negative self-talk, those thoughts are still there, playing on repeat in your subconscious, and they're still limiting you. But I have incredible news. You can train yourself to replace those thoughts and reprogram your beliefs. And we're going to talk about how to do that in the next lesson.